CG have made some kind of, like, how to describe this, bizarre choices when it's come to the era of the anniversary. You know, with the introduction of the segregation of era units and our legacy roster, with how Coliseum works, how era leveling works, how that all interacts. And we knew this was coming when they brought these new marquees because they told us it was coming. We knew it's in the game, but it feels very, very strange that if your IG-90 is a lower level than your Luke, then you're going to be performing worse within Coliseum. So IG-90 is in its first day of its event. I did a stream yesterday, we unlocked IG-90. You know, we got what we knew we were getting with IG-90 is this first level over here, this first tier gives you enough to get your IG-90 to level 15. And that makes sense, because on the free-to-play sort of route to success when it comes to these era units, if you don't spend any money, you will essentially be able to get to about level 15 on your Stormtrooper Luke by the end of his marquee event. So IG-90 releasing, they give you the resources to get to level 15, so those two characters have parity. Now when you look at the mechanics of Coliseum, and we take a look and we go, okay, so help me understand how this scaling works, you can see this bottom thing at the thing at the bottom here. Now there are 5 of them. At the start of battle, up to 4 enemies are summoned based on this unit's error level, and the lowest enemy's error level in the following descending order. Okay, so Darth Vader, Inquisitor Barriss, Asajj Ventress, and Yoda and Chewie. So those characters there just show, you know, which order of units we are going to lose. So you start off losing Yoda and Chewie, then you lose Asajj Ventress, then you lose Inquisitor Barriss, and then you get Darth Vader, right? But the fact that your error level scales to the lowest error level of the team that you take in, so if I was to go in here, all of my summoned units are going to scale off IG-90 because he's 27 and Luke is 28. The thing that that boggles my mind is I understand from the free-to-play position, if you literally spent, like I haven't spent any cash on Stormtrooper Luke levels. I spent a bit of crystals early on to get him up, and I've spent cash to get him 7 stars, right? The rest of these levels have just come through progression, beating various tiers of the Coliseum, and so on and so forth. I spent some crystals early on to get him, I can't remember what level I got him to, like 11, something like that, I can't remember now. I think it was about 5,000 crystals, which even then was overkill. That was overkill for what you needed to do, right? So it's fine for my account here because I have that influx of materials from beating the higher tiers. From a free-to-play perspective, that's true again, because they both come in at level 15. But what's really bizarre about this structure, and I don't quite understand CG's position, is if you wailed super heavy on Stormtrooper Luke, like let's actually just go ahead and check the Coliseum, just for a moment, and let's check the leaderboards, right? So for example, it's probably a bad way to look at it this way, but let's go down here. Let's check out this guy's error levels, right? So he's 28 and 24. But imagine for an instance that you are one of these guys at the top and you like wailed on your Luke to 78, right? You got him all the way up there, which costs a significant amount of money. When you get your IG-90, you won't go to 15, you'll go quite a bit further. You'll probably go to like 40s, somewhere like that. Because I've seen it. I've seen like other whales that have shown me what sort of level entry they can get IG-90 to, because there is a little bit of bleed over of materials. You get like an excess of what you need to level up Luke by spending money on it and then beating the various tiers, and then that will go and feed into IG-90. But it won't get you to the same level parity. So like I said, I had a friend of mine, Carthrick, who is, you know, he's a 6-figure whale. He has spent over $100,000 on this game, and he put it to me that when he got his IG-90, it went to level 45, right? And he said, from his perspective, it was like, I mean, you know, it's not as expensive as Stormtrooper Luke, but from a gameplay perspective, that seems incredibly bizarre. Because CG is saying now, they're encouraging you, if you have spent money on Luke, please spend money on this next character, otherwise you're going to perform objectively worse in this new game mode? That is a bizarre approach. That is a really bizarre approach. Why would someone who spent money over here not feel like, oh, I feel like this new character, I feel like I should definitely be spending money on this because it gave me such a good boost to do it for Luke. I should do it again. When really, in reality, what it is, oh, I spent a bunch of money on Luke and I've gotten to the top 10 of Coliseum and all this, but now the new character comes out and I'm performing worse, not better, not even the same. I'm just performing worse unless I open up the wallet again and get this guy up to the same level. This feels like such a backwards approach to me. If we're unlocking new characters, we should be getting rewarded for it. We should feel that, you know, that boost of endorphins. We should get that dopamine hit of being like, yes, new character unlock, let's go. But it only really applies to people that didn't whale on the levels in the first place, which is a very strange approach. You would think that CG would either go for the highest level or maybe even go for an average. But even if they went for the average level, if the disparity between these two levels is rather large, you're still going to be better off going into your Coliseum battles and just taking out the extra unit, just not using the lower level unit. Now, I've had a lot of people talk about sort of, should you focus on one character? No, not really in my opinion. I don't think it makes sense unless you are dropping money, okay? If you are dropping money on this game, sure, you might as well just take Stormtrooper Luke all the way up. The way that they've currently scaled it, before the changes, this Roar of the Crowd feature, that was based on the, you know, the error levels of your actual live error units, not the summoned units, that got removed apparently. So we don't have to worry about keep on using additional marquees, right, until the later stages. But if you are whaling, you might as well just focus on one character, because otherwise it's going to get very expensive, right? But if you're not whaling, there's no point focusing just on Luke, because you're not really going to get materially any further. Because these levels use the same level up materials, right? You're only going to have a finite amount of gear to get you to level 15, and then you're only going to have a finite amount of gear to get you to level 25, and then you're going to have this backlog of old materials that just won't have any use. By the end of it, if you're not spending money on these levels, you might as well just spread these materials across. Because you're not really, it's not like, oh, I've got a level 15 Luke. I won't take IG-90 to level 15 because that'll help me get Luke to level 20. It won't work like that because you'll still have enough currency, well, maybe not enough currency, but you'll have enough level up materials to go 1 to 15 without any issues, right? And those materials don't get used in the later level stages of Stormtrooper Luke, right? The only thing you're really saving is the episode currency. And realistically speaking, you could just drop like 300 crystals, 400 crystals to get yourself a little bit of extra error level and currency to make up that difference. Sure, there might be some minor thresholds where you're like, oh, you know, I got to level 25, but I couldn't get to level 30 or 29 or something like that because I split my resources. Maybe in a minor case, but in that instance, I would just say do it in steps. Do it in steps. Take one character up to that threshold, you know. Take Luke to 30 first before worrying about IG-90 going up to 30 as well. So if your IG-90 is at 25, take your Luke to 30. And don't worry about IG-90 until you can get him to 30. That sort of thing. I wouldn't say just ignore one character because the system isn't designed for you to just focus on one character unless you want to open up your wallet. It is another weird thing that I've noticed. Within the error store now, they have added these additional, well, this additional pack here for crystals. Now, I think this is a very deliberate approach from CG. They've released the 16 to 25 error material cache in crystal purchases, whereas previously you could only buy this for cash. Now, the reason they've done this is because you can get 16 to 25 without spending money. Now, you couldn't do it last week, and that's why it wasn't available for crystals. You could only use cash. Now that you can do this part for free, as you saw on my account just now, I'm already 28, 27, 28, something like that. They're like, okay, we don't care if you're not going to spend cash on this. We'll take your crystals instead. I don't advise people do this either, unless you're absolutely desperate to, you know, climb the ladder in Coliseum to hopefully, you know, get you into a top 10 position or whatever. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Realistically speaking, most shards, you're not going to get into the top 10 without dropping real world money, and that is a big rat race that you're getting on. I can't personally recommend people do that. I feel like you're just throwing money into the abyss, and if everybody does that, you're actually not going to get any performance boost out of it because everybody else is also coming up at the same level. So I'm not dropping, I'm waiting until the end of the era when my characters get to level 65, because these guys will, all of these will get to 65 for free without spending money by the time we get to Darth Vader. Well, rather, by the end of the first week of Darth Vader's marquee release, by that point, we should all be level 65. Now, that gap between 65 and error level 70, I've been over this before, but this is in the data mines and everything. You can get to error level 65 on everybody for free. Everybody can reach this without spending any money. You can get to level 70 if you have got the stars. If you've whaled your way to like 4 stars, 5 stars, there are some additional rewards that you get in the marquee track that helps you push a little bit further, helps you unlock higher tiers of Coliseum, so you can do this for free as well. But everything over that error level 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, and so on and so forth, you actually need to spend money buying various packs. It's the only way to do it, unless, like CG has done here, and introduced this error material cache too, are they going to, by the end, make this one a crystal purchasable item? Maybe they'll make this one a crystal purchasable item as well, like right at the end of the marquee, because we don't know at this point what it's going to take for us to unlock Spider Legs Mall. The only thing that we do know for certain, because we've been over this before, is that you can get them at 4-star if your character's at error level 45. 5-star, 6-star, 7-star do not have error level requirements in the announcement post, but I bet you anything that 4-star, 5-star, 6-star, they're all 7-star, they're all going to have a different error level. If it's not in the requirements, it will be a stat requirement, in so much as, oh, you're only error level 65, you can't beat the 6-star event because it's too hard, right? And we can't modify our stats. You know, we can't put mods on. There's very little strategy that we can adopt. I imagine it's going to be a stat check. So you're going to need, you know, just like the error battles that are gone at the moment, the error challenges, sorry, that are gone at the moment, you could go into any tier, sure. You could go and try and take your error level 15 Luke against level 75 units, and you just get absolutely smashed. I have a feeling that's how this journey guide is going to go with Maul. But if it requires you to be over error level 70, then forget about it for a 7-star unlock. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have to drop money unless they take those packs and they make crystal equivalents of them. Now, they might do that. They might do that. I wouldn't be too surprised. But what it feels like CG is doing is they are trying to constantly incentivize the spending without telling us, without informing the player base that you'll get all of this for free. Up to 65. All of that's gonna be free. They're not telling you it's free. They're just hoping that you'll go in here and spend the money, right? And I don't like that approach. I don't like that approach at all. That's just me. I mean, like it feels really shady to me, guys. And you know, I've always been, you know, I'd like to say I've got a pretty level head about like the game design decisions and stuff like that. I'm able to see both sides of the argument and usually, you know, defend CG where they need to be defended, and like to feel like I put fire to their feet when it feels like they're doing something that's not particularly in the interest of the player. And I think this one very much is this leveling process that they've implemented here. Just because they didn't give us enough clarity about the leveling process, I feel like that is dishonest in how you should do it. They're hoping that people will spend money, and people are spending money. People are spending, but like hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars, apologies, has gone into this already. And I feel like if they wanted to monetize it, that's absolutely fine. That's within their rights, but they should make it absolutely clear. I've said this before on my live streams, but the majority of the players that play this game, we had like 400,000 plus people log in during Luke's marquee. Most of those people are not watching my videos. They're not watching Arnold. They're not watching live streams. They're not going to the forums. They don't even use Discord. So how are they supposed to know how they're supposed to level up these units if all they see is, oh, I need to go and level up. Oh, I'm out of these materials. Where can I get these materials? Oh, it's okay. I could just drop $10. You know? Whereas if they just wait, they'll get it for free. But there's nothing in the game that explains that. There's no announcement that says it. There's nothing, you know, obviously there are on the forums and there are on these videos, but most people don't look at that. Most people don't engage. Most people don't even know that there's a Discord. I mean, there isn't even an official Discord. There's the Swigger Events Discord server, which is the official, unofficial Discord server of the game. And there's the forums, which, I will be honest, are horrible to navigate. It's a horrible platform. And there are these videos that we put out. And don't get me wrong, I would love it if I could reach 400,000 people in all of my videos, but that's not feasible. That's not likely. So I feel like the onus should be on CG to be absolutely crystal clear and transparent about how this leveling process works. And I do think they need to completely backtrack on how the leveling, error leveling system translates into the summoned unit stats, because we shouldn't be getting new marquees and either be told to wail even further on the new marquees to gain parity with characters you've already wailed on, or to suffer worse performance in their new flagship game mode. It feels weird, it feels icky. Sort it out, CG, do a bit better. Pretty please. Alright guys, give me a like even if you're not liking Coliseum. I'd appreciate that, and I'll see you all in the very next video. Peace out, may the force be with you.